guys, and welcome back to the Christmas house. We're doing 4 parts of a fun, chilled out, nice and slow, let's chat about life Christmas house. I'm really excited about this one. As I said in the last video, a little bit of recap time. I've noticed my videos have gotten really fast, and I think it's a product of the fact that my life has gotten very busy and I'm a little bit like all over the place, and I think it's really showing in my videos. So I decided, for the sake of Christmas and for the sake of time and just enjoying on the channel, a little bit of a reset. We're doing a 4-part December series, one house, chilled out, hanging out, relaxing, slower videos. You can kind of watch. I always like these videos. They're a fun change of pace when other people do them and I get to watch them, because it reminds me of building techniques that I may not remember, that I may not use on the daily. It helps me to consider or walk through their process, how they consider things, helps me to think about different styles of build. I really love, especially like when Deligracy does a slower, more chilled out vid, because I can watch like the way she'll choose things and she'll talk through things like, I really like this pink color, but I don't love this pink color with this duvet, etc., etc. Things like that. And so I was really excited to like just take it slow, maybe even be like a little more chilled out than is necessary, and just enjoy and just really get into this Christmas build. Today we're doing the living and dining because they're kind of the same part. They're split by an archway, but a custom archway we're making here. In fact, we're working on it right now. First part, if you missed it, we did the outside. It was pretty fun. I rambled on for like 20 minutes, and then you got to listen to Christmas music and watch us figure out the sort of layout and design of the house. I mentioned that this was the first house that I have drawn out on graph paper in a really long time. I think I said it was the first house I had drawn out. No, I said it was the first house I had drawn out on the tablets graph paper, which was really interesting. But I do think it's really cool to draw layouts on graph paper if you can kind of remember like the sizes of certain furniture and stuff, because it can help you visualize without, sometimes the game, you can get bogged down with all of the tools and the way the tools work. Sometimes it's easier to draw things on paper first, but we had a discussion about that and a few other things. I built this house decorated for Winterfest, but with the intention behind it being that you could pull the Winterfest stuff out of it and it would be a perfectly lovely house anywhere in the world. So that's sort of the intention we're going for here as well. I wanted some beautiful built-ins. I wanted it to be cozy, but completely functional. And if you took down the Winterfest decorations or the Christmas decorations, if that's what you celebrate, it would be a perfectly functional house. There's a few things about the interior that, like, in my head, I was like, this is what would change if there weren't Christmas decorations up. So, like, for example, in this room, it's a little tight because the chair is sort of in the middle of the archway, which you'll see in a few when we get to doing that. But in my head, I'm like, well, that would make sense, right? Because you would move it for the Christmas tree. But when the Christmas tree isn't in the house, the chair would go where the Christmas tree is, right? Like when I was growing up, we always had, we still have it in this house, this really fascinating bright orange and brown chair. It was the chair like my mom and stuff was rocked in. It's like this really beautiful rocker. It squeaks like nobody's business now, so no one really sits in it, but it is actually really comfortable. It used to be one of my favorite chairs. But it used to sit in a specific alcove in our home, and then each year when we would put the Christmas tree up, it would sort of just live awkwardly and like sort of off to the side of the room, because the Christmas tree would then go there because the outlet was there. And so I kind of assumed the same thing with this house. Like, it wouldn't be as crowded if it didn't have the Christmas tree and all the decor. And I know not everyone decorates like that, and that's totally fine. But in my house, that was always kind of the thing, is like, my mom loved decorating for Christmas. She still does, but we've toned it down a little bit because now we're 4 working adults all in this house, and like I work from home, so I'm like, I love the Christmas stuff, but if I can't move from my desk to the like kitchen to get water without like accidentally kicking the baby Jesus, it's too much, you know. So we've toned down a little bit, but my mom loves decorating, so we always like we usually start decorating the day after Thanksgiving. And we'll probably be a little bit late this year because I have not managed to get out and get Christmas lights or anything yet. And a lot of my Christmas lights died last year because we had some like intense weather. And every time I came home, I was just like, oh, another strand is out. Dope. But yeah, no, she used to go crazy. And from like end of Thanksgiving on through Christmas and New Year's, and usually within the first week of the new year, our house was just like crazy. It was Christmas from wall to wall, door to door, out the back door kind of thing. It was crazy. And I used to live in a place that wasn't super windy, so you know those like inflatable Christmas ornaments in the front yard? We had so many of those, and it was so cool. And my neighbor was super into decorating her outside, and we weren't as in, we always had a beautifully decorated house. My parents always made sure it was the lights and inflatables, but we didn't get as into it until our neighbor did. And then the neighbor across the street did as well. And it got to the point, we were on a dead end, which was not ideal. But it got to the point where people would make a point, like we were one of the streets where it was like people would come down to see what we did. Because we started working together and would string lights like across the road and stuff. It was pretty great. But I lived on a dead end, so we could also kind of get away with that because people could walk down and like see it and then walk back. But we can't do that so much out here because we have such high winds. And such variable weather, and I live on like the edge of a valley, so like I'm a little more protected, but it's still like the weather can change in a second out here, and it can be pretty violent when it wants to be. And so we put Christmas lights and stuff up, but I don't do a lot of yard decor anymore because a lot of times it becomes my neighbor's yard decor, and after a couple years you're just like, yeah, you know. But anyways, to go back to the initial conversation at hand, that was kind of the idea I was having here, was like, the house looks a little cluttered right now, but it's because Christmas is happening. If you took all the Christmas away and you put the normal art back up and you maybe wiggled a couple chairs and stuff, the house is perfectly serviceable, right? That was kind of the idea. Like, and I wanted it to be that simple. Like, I wanted you to be able to download this in May and be like, cool, I'm not really feeling Winterfest right now, so I'm just gonna, you know, remove all of this. And it should be like a 10-minute project was the plan. I also was trying to be careful in that I didn't do, often when I am building houses for like Christmas time, or I guess I should do my usual spiel. You do not have to celebrate Christmas on this channel. I celebrate Christmas. I am a Christian. However, I believe that Hanukkah is happening this time of year, right? Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. I believe Kwanzaa happens this time of year. Happy Kwanzaa if that's what you celebrate. There's a it starts with a D. It's like I'm gonna be so offensive here. There's at least 2 I'm forgetting. If you don't celebrate and you just enjoy the cheer of the year, happy holidays. If you're just excited for this part of the year to be over, you know what, my friend, spring is coming. You're on your way. You got this. You'll make it to spring, I promise. But I tend to think in terms of Christmas because that's always what I've celebrated, and that sort of fits in with my faith. So, you know, I'm Christmas centric. I feel like that tends to happen with The Sims, especially too, because The Sims is very US centric, and the US is very predominantly Christmas centric. We do have a strong Hebrew/Jewish population, so there is a lot of Hanukkah happening around. We also have a lot of different cultures that celebrate holidays that I am ignorant of, and so we do, like, you do get to experience that. We are a great mixing pot, but I will say in our culture and in our media, a lot of times we're very Christmas centric, so I tend to think in very Christmas centric views because that's where I lie. But I do think The Sims has some options to celebrate other things, and I think it would be really cool to investigate that at some point. That should be on my list for next year, when I'm not so completely out of control, swamped. That's part of why this is a 4-part series, because I was like, I just want to build for fun and be chilled out and enjoy and not be so manic, and because I really think it was starting to come through with my builds, and I was starting to get to the point where I was like, wow, and like I can even hear it when I'm talking. Like, I naturally talk super fast, but it's gotten to be like a thing. I made a face at you. I made a whole face at the mic just then and realized, they can't hear me. Or they can't see me, rather. You can hear me, I hope. After 9 minutes of talking, I hope you can hear me. But so this build is I keep referring to it as Christmas. It's Winterfest is the idea. Like, I was trying to, it's Winterfest. But you could set it up with whatever. Because the nice thing is The Sims have set up a lot of palette changes and a lot of subtle like shape change and stuff too. So a lot of the decor that I put up could be really easily modified for other holidays. Having said that, I think the initial point I had intended to make was my goal. Usually when I am building a house around a holiday like this, I put up all the decor normally and then I decorate, and I was more careful with that this time because, first of all, that's not how we do it in my house in real life, so that doesn't really make sense. In my house, we have our normal everyday decor, but for Christmas, certain things come down to make space for Christmas stuff, right? Like, we have Christmas wall art, not all of it, but some of it, you know, or like you want to hang something Christmassy, so you take down some portraits or something. Or like, we always have lights on top of the upper cabinets in the kitchen, but during Christmas time, we put up Christmas lights instead, you know, that kind of thing. We don't just continually stack on top of often. We sort of decorate in that way, you know, mostly because my mom is intense about it. That's not to say we completely disrupt lives or anything, but we sort of see, this is what I meant, going back real quick. See how the couch is like a little bit on a slant and the chair is kind of out in the middle? I imagine that would be very different if the Christmas tree wasn't there. Everything's meant to look like a little bit wiggled around to fit the Christmas tree in, was the idea. But anyways, the point I was making, so when I did this house, I built it in a way that with a little bit of work, I wanted it to be able to go back to a normal house. But I where I would have hung like normal wall art, a lot of times I was like, okay, let's see if is this a place where I would have taken that down to put Christmas up? Yes? Okay, great. And so in The Sims, it was like, is this a place where I would have wanted to put up Winterfest, right? Great. So I did that a few times in order to not have it be quite so out of control cluttered, in order to make sure, like, for laptops and things, it ran, which I mentioned this in the last video, but I'll mention it again. I am running a mid-tier older computer. It was beefy for its day. God bless him. He's now a decade old, which is not bad, but it's a little bit rough in like computer part speak. And I tell you this not to brag or to get pity or anything like that. My goodness, it's a perfectly lovely computer, but I'm just sort of letting you know that I am starting to hit the point with The Sims where I'm like, oh, I notice lag. This was not a problem for a long period of time. And so I'm trying to be more cognizant of that and be like, okay, well, his name is Chewbacca, don't judge me. If Chewie is having a hard time running this, then this is definitely not going to run for everyone who's going to watch this. And so I've been trying to like be more cognizant of that. Was the whole point I was making. And yes, my computer's name is Chewbacca. We can discuss that at a later time if you were so interested. The other computer's name is Yoda. It started with a printer, because the printer that I used to have that unfortunately is now with Jesus, he would make these crazy noises. He straight up sounded like R2-D2. So when I connected him to my network, I named him R2-D2. And then I had a different computer at the time that didn't have a name. It was just like Amanda's computer. But I was working on a little computer for a friend, and she was like, you can just have it because it doesn't really work. It was one of those that was built to be like a kid's computer, and so it had like absolutely no memory. I still have it, but it doesn't charge anymore. But we were trying to cannibalize it into something different. And so when I connected it to the network, I named it Wicket, because that's what it reminded me of. And so then everyone was like, well, if you have Wicket, do you have like any, like you now have multiple Star Wars characters, so now you have a theme. And I was like, yeah. So when I got this computer, I named him Chewbacca, but I call him Chewie. And then when I got the laptop that I needed for school, I named it Yoda because it's a Lenovo Yoga, and I'm real clever like that. Yeah. And my last phone for a while was Leia on the network, but that changed because it had to be disconnected so many times that I got tired of setting it up. But I'm still not quite as nerdy as my brother, though. His computer's name is Gladys. Anyways, yeah, I always worry, too, because, like, I was one of those kids who didn't realize that, like, on a Word document, for example, it'll say, like, owner, author, and then it'll be, like, but, like, or, like, owner and author are two different things. And so it was always like, authored by Amanda, and I was like, great. But I didn't realize the owner said Chewbacca in it. So I sent so many files into school from Chewbacca. It's fantastic. Makes me very happy. I'll be honest with you. I was like, great, I'm going to own it. Like, I found out, like, junior year of college, and I was like, you know what? Don't care. Gonna roll with it. Anyways, I'm getting super distracted over here. I'm trying to think, is there anything else really pertinent you need to... I loved the red couch, which shocked me. That's the other pertinent thing. I am not a red person. I do not like the color red, generally speaking. It is a beautiful color. I can appreciate it. It is not one I pick for my own space often. It is not one that I pick often for home decor because it is a very loud, proud color, and it has a lot of connotations to it. I loved that red couch with that blue chair. I was sitting there like, this is the funnest thing. It is a little bit out there for this house, but I just think it is so fun, so we rolled with it. It is a pretty easy fix, though, if you're not feeling it, because it also has a similar blue swatch and a couple of really nice neutral tones on that couch. So if you log in and you're like, Amanda went around the bend, probably not wrong, but also, like, you can change it, no worries. That's my favorite thing is, like, when I'll like download a shell or something off the gallery to build on, and I'll see what other people have done with it, and it's always so creative and it's so cool. I kind of want to do a shell challenge, but I'm also like chicken. So you have to let me know if that would be interesting. Anyways, though, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to be said about this part. I've been loving just the chill build. You know, I don't really get nauseous with YouTube videos too often, but mine were going too fast for a long time. I don't know if we'll always do all of them this slow, but I'm really enjoying the chilled out vibes of just hanging out, basically building a house together and just enjoying. I'm also realizing, so I watch these back on a different monitor than I build on. I don't know why. That's just what happens. And I am seeing that this wallpaper is like a little bit more in your face beige than it seemed on the other monitor. So I do apologize if it's a little bit bright. There's probably a more neutral tone. But I like it. I still think it's quite great. Yeah, that's the other thing I should say before we go too far. There's very few curtains in this house because the curtains were just killing me. I was just so instantly done with them. Like, it went from 0 to too annoyed to deal with this so fast. It was unreal. So there's very few curtains in this house. But I think I'm gonna let you listen to the fun Christmas music and hang out and do the last of it. I think all we're doing now is just putting up some Christmas decorations, which is really fun. Or Winterfest decorations, which can be really easily changed. There's some beautiful blue and white ones. There's some beautiful gold ones, I believe. A lot of these red and white swatches have really pretty other colors. And also, I believe I got the right present patch that you should be able to do the Winterfest stuff with that present patch. If not, you might need to switch that out. I did not player test that. I player tested most of this house. It did just occur to me I didn't player test that. But you also might be able to do it from the tree. Actually, you might be able to do it from the tree. Yeah, so there's a few places in this house, I believe I do it one more time, but I can't remember now if I kept it or not. There's a few places in this house where I size down the Christmas trees to make like tabletop trees, because I think they're super cute that way. The functionality is hit or miss, so don't mess. I wouldn't use those. Like, I would use the big tree, but there's also 2 big trees in this house, I believe. Should be. It's been a minute, but yes, I think so. Anyways, guys, I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not having a great day, I can talk today. Goodness, let's try that again. I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not having a great day, please know that I wish you a good day. I hope you're feeling loved, and if you don't feel loved, so that I love you, and I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're hanging out, making the world a better place just by being you, and I will catch you all in part 3. Bye-bye. Mwah.